aspirants, this is me Yasmin Gill presenting to you the PIB highlights of 6th of January. So you can follow all these videos on this particular link of an academy, and you can also rate and review these videos. And how can you rate and review? Quickly go on an academy, you can search PIB January. So the course is live for January, do rate and review it, and once you click on PIB January, you will come across various courses. So just click on the required course, as if for this particular course you can click on PIB January highlights. So PIB highlights of January, and once you click on it, under review section you can actually write your review, and there will be stars shown there by virtue of which you can give the star ratings. So let's begin. Firstly, we have under society and related issues, New Delhi Word Book Fair. So important point here is that this word book fair would be actually beginning this year with the theme Manushi. And why is this so? Because it will focus on writings and literature, particularly by women and for women. Also, this will be organized in collaboration with India Trade Promotion Organization. Plus, there is an additional point, which is National Book Trust, a very famous book trust, would be celebrating its 60 years of foundation this very year with this particular exhibition in the same fair, that is New Delhi Word Book Fair. So these last 2 points are not that important, but these first 2 bullet points, just do them. Next, we have road transport and highways related efforts. These are particularly for enforcing traffic regulations and preventing accidents. So firstly, the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways have come up with 2 apps. One is known as e-Challan, the second is known as e-Parivahan. Also, there will be road safety celebration. I do not personally feel that UPSC would be asking such date-based questions, but in case you are preparing for some other exam, do go for it. Now, if you look at the e-Challan, this will actually help in transport and traffic regulation and enforcement. Also, visibility of offenders would be more via this digital platform. Plus, if you look at the second app, that is e-Parivahan. So this particular app will help you in obtaining driving license, registration certificate, etc. online. Also, while sale and purchase of vehicles, it will help you in actually guaranteeing authentication of a particular vehicle. So how? Supposedly you know the number of a particular vehicle, so you can actually put that number on this particular app, and once you put this number, you will get the full details of the car as well as the owner. So this will help curb down cars, buying and selling of cars which are actually theft based cars, right? So genuineness and authentication would be more. Also, this will also facilitate good Samaritans. Who are good Samaritans? Who actually come forward and help the people who are victims of accidents. Why? See, because they can post the pictures of the accident and the related offender if they are at that particular spot and put it on this particular portal. So this is how these 2 apps would be working. One is e-Challan, mainly for traffic enforcement, and e-Parivahan, mainly for documentation purposes as well as for putting your pictures, etc. on the app. Also, states are being asked to connect this particular, that is e-Parivahan, with the emergency service 108 service, healthcare related. Next, we have in the polity and governance section, convention of non-resident Odias. So we are usually aware of the fact that Pravasi Bharatiya Divas is held, right? So this is something of that sort, but particularly for the state of Odia. Inaugurated by President, this particular conference or convention would be held by Odisha Forum in New Delhi. Also, just noteworthy facts about Odisha, and these are very important. Odisha was the first state which was created on the basis of language in 1936. That is before independence. Now, do tell me in the comment section, after independence, which was the first state that was created on the basis of language. Next, Odisha was also the first state who actually willfully or voluntarily embraced the process of integration of princely states, which was mainly done by Vallabhbhai Patel. So Odisha was the first to come forward in it. Then we have a very, very famous personality of Odisha, which President mentioned in his speech. So who is that? Utkal Mani Gopabandhu Das. So Utkal, I am sure you must be aware, Utkal is the name which is given to Odisha. We also mentioned it in our national anthem. So he was a rebel from Odisha who used to survive only on rice and dal. And seeing this, Gandhiji was very, very inspired by this particular personality, that is Utkal Mani Gopabandhu Das, and he actually wrote in one of his articles, My Odisha Tour, praising Utkal Mani Gopabandhu Das. Next, also, see this, why are we discussing Utkal Gaurav now, that is in the convention of non-resident Odias? Because he also spent most of his time outside Odisha trying to lead or begin a movement for the unification of Odisha. Which was that movement? It was known as Utkal Amilani in 1903. That was to unify Odisha as a particular state. Other noteworthy facts include he was the first person who actually established first educational institute for women, which was way back then the today considered first women university in Bombay. Also, he was also mentioned in an article written by C.F. Andrews, who is also a very popular name in our history, and this was an article, Spirit of Odisha. Next, we have Northeastern Tourist Development Council. So for the first time, a region-based separate tourist development council will be developed. So this will be done in PPP mode and under obviously Ministry of Donor, that is Department for or Ministry for Northeastern region. And this will be done for the first time that a particular region would be having its own tourism development council. Also, another note for the fact is we have also established a Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Center for Policy Research and Analysis at IIM Shillong. We did this in a few videos back too. Why Shillong? See, Shillong was the very place where Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam actually died. Next, we have advancing the budget. So this is an article from Indian Express. So let's go through it. See, why are we talking about this? We recently know that opposition parties have all gathered and they went to Election Commission of India seeking postponement of budget. Why? Because they say let the budget be done or budget be presented after the polls are completed to 5 state assemblies. But what are all the flaws or the wrongs that are mentioned or that can be found out from this particular play of opposition party? See, firstly, it actually believes in the fact this particular thing is based on an assumption that India's voters are influenced by short-term populist measures which are given in budget. So, for example, there are budgets, for example, say in Punjab. So, say in union budget, there are certain steps to promote farmers, etc. and certain doles which are given to farmers, certain incentives. So, these particular opposition parties, they feel that these set of farmers, for example, this is just an example. So, farmers would be actually swayed by the fact that, okay, budget has given them this much, so let's go and vote for this particular party. So, it assumes that Indian voter doesn't act wisely and bases itself on short-term gains. Plus, but otherwise, see, what has evidence suggested is that voters' judgment is never based on short-term or overnight announcements. Rather, it is based on long-term performance. So, it's very important to focus on such aspects too, that is voter behavior. In fact, there was a question once asked in UPSC mains also in GS2 related to voter behavior. Also, there is another sound logic to this particular argument which says that, for example, see, if we go on postponing budget by virtue of the timings of legislative assembly elections, so there will be, see, any government of India term is usually 5 years, right? Now, in this particular 5 years term, roughly at least 9 months would be such months whereby assembly elections would be held. So, what do we do then? Should we move on to complete policy paralysis for this 9 months? So that is not desirable, right? Also, there's a big question asked, just go through it, which is, can a popularly elected government at center be denied the right to make announcements just because of state elections? So these are all the factors which you can mention if in case you want to go against the desired play of the opposition, that is postponement of budget. Also, do answer this very, very good questions. First one says that voter behavior in India are based on both short-term gains as well as long-term performance-based outcomes. Discuss in context of recent demand by opposition parties to postpone budget date. So yes, you can mention short-term gains. For example, you can mention cash for vote, etc. So in that case, maybe people go for short-term. That depends on your perspective. And second question, simultaneous polls is the one-stop solution to issues such as frequent social mobilization based on religion, caste, etc., as well as to prevent populism by candidates. So this is actually linked 3 issues in one question. One is simultaneous polls, which is talked about. Second is 2 major issues of elections which have recently come up. One is, we know recently Supreme Court gave a verdict related to religion, caste. Now if simultaneous polls is conducted, people have said that there will be less such of hate speech, etc. Why? Because similar just polls will be conducted every 5 years, and in between the period there will be no hate speeches and use of religion, etc. Second one is preventing populism. So this populism would be done only in the time of elections, and once there is simultaneous elections, that will be only after 5 years, and therefore it will also prevent populism. So do it, answer it, and you can answer, you can have your own perspective, be it with the question or against it. Next, we have purification of parties. Again, based on Indian Express, this is related to political funding, etc. So firstly, it speaks about ending cash donations completely. Also, it goes on to say that currently there is no obligation to disclose the sources below 20,000 donation, which should be done. Why? Because the 70% of income that came to political parties as declared by them in the last 2 years, that was from undocumented sources. So what people do, or what the donors do, is they break the big chunk of money into small packets of 20,000, because then they will not be able to disclose. So in that way the funding happens. Next, Election Commission of India has also proposed that declarations are needed. So proper handwritten declarations are needed above mere 2,000 donor declaration. Also, see, what do parties do? They are supposed to do an audit. Okay, so what do? Is they actually handpick their own CAs, that is chartered accountants, to audit the accounts, but this should be done by independent third party auditors. Also, Election Commission of India should be given the power to deregister parties in case they feel that anything is wrong. Also, particularly in context of recent tab or the check on the shell parties. Then we have source of income of candidates should also be declared, plus severe penalties to be proposed. Then under economy section, we have model shops and service bill, which is an example of cooperative federalism, whereby states should be given more freedom to operate shops, operate according to their timings, and women be given employment. Next, we have estimates of national income, which you must be aware is given by CSO under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Under environment section, we have a very small snippet, which is new disaster response fund campus coming up in Andhra Pradesh. Not that important. And this is an MCQ related to model code of conduct. This was from today's lecture, that is 5th of January. So you can go through them and also enroll yourself for the MCQ course. So that's it for today, and hope you enjoyed the lecture. If you did, do not forget to rate and review it. Thank you so much.